Check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay. Hello, all our audience. Welcome.
Welcome,
Get
everyone.
ready to review the day.
Ready to review the day for sure. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hopefully, you had a good trading day. Let us know how you did in the chat. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Anything you learned from today? If you watched Dr. Steenbarger, there was a ton to learn from today. Um, but let us know how you did in the chat. Pete, T. Lamar, Dan, how are you? I think that the one that said hello, everyone. I'm not going to read that name. R3. There we go. Hello, Courtney, Jason, Allison. Welcome, everyone. Closed up 150K combine with a manual lockout. T. Lamar, very nice. You can hardly hear me. Is that any better?
I hear you well.
Let me know if this sounds any better. 1.6K on the day. Sounds perfect. All right, I'll keep the mic right here. Welcome, everyone, to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I am Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep Performance Coach for a little over a year. Been trading for the last 12 years and in the futures markets for the last 5. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been involved with the futures industry for 4 decades. I've been a top step performance coach for the last year and a half. I'm here to share my experience and some knowledge and help our traders either improve or get past a combine. Hope everybody has had a good day. Although that's probably not the case. If a good day, you could be losing money on a day like today and did well and made good trading decisions. So uh, let's get started.
Let's get started. Not too much as far as planned news out today, Coach. We did have bank earnings start today, which looked like they came out pretty good. Uh, the market didn't think so, but the banks did. Outside of that, not too much planned news. We do have news coming out tomorrow with jobless claims and retail sales. A couple more Fed speakers speaking, of course, crude inventories. Uh, but quiet on the news front today. As far as planned headlines go, we do know that we did see uh, Netanyahu mentioned a plan of attack on Iran, and that coming up soon. And I think that's what the markets were reacting to on that sell-off.
Yeah, that
Any comments on the news, Coach?
sure seems like that because market was actually running up and looking good. Um, and just after the first half an hour, we broke that first half an hour low and collapsed. So it seems to be the news that drove. It seems to be, but crude did not react with a big rally. It still ended up down $3. So um, whatever the reason, I know this: there were more sellers than buyers, active sellers than buyers at the bottom as a bottom line. So um, yeah, I saw the headline: bank earnings were as expected to a little bit better. I think they started coming out last night. But we're technicians, um, and we trade. So let's get started with our review of the day.
Let's get into it. The way we start every segment, looking at the top percentage movers on the day. There are about 35 different markets that we can trade at Top Step, and actually we just added a couple more, so that number continues to grow. But to the downside, we had RBOB gasoline futures down 3.26%, heating oil down 3.52%, and crude oil down 3.96% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. We did see that crude oil sell off towards the middle of at the buzzer yesterday, which looks like it got that move started early. At one point, crude was down over 5%. And just following the trend of the energies being our biggest percentage movers, either to the up or the downside. To the upside, we had silver up 1.08%, soybean oil up 1.31%, and the ultra bonds up 1.52% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. To round out our big four, we have gold up 0.45%, the S&Ps down 0.84%, and the Nasdaq down 1.44% to round out our big four. Coach, I'm going to go over to start with the S&Ps today. It was the market that made a new all-time high
All
yesterday,
right.
59.18 half. And here we are on the 30-minute chart. And what is that white line?
Oh, that's the 200 bar moving average on the half hour. Where we ended up in that area, where we're sitting almost exactly right now. So this it's still trending up. For me, this is a place to get long. And I will take my loss if it comes. Um, but it's spending a little too much time here. But I think tonight is going to set a big. It's going to set the tone for tomorrow. This should react on a bounce. If it doesn't, we're going to start. Um, I believe start liquidating. If we, actually, coach, if we just start with the daily, um, because what do we have here? A possible double top. Um, so what was yet we went right back to where we started on Sunday night. Um, and or early Monday morning. Um, this is a place where it needs to hold, um, obviously, but that on a daily with a possible double top like that, I'm paying close attention to this 200 bar moving average on the half hour. Um, and these aren't just a double top; these are all-time high double tops. So big, big night tonight for me. Um, I guess I'll have to give up some sleep and look for opportunity where it comes. So let's go to the half an hour and let's start. Yeah, let's start from last night's open, and we'll do the J frame. We look. We made the high of the night on the opening and stayed within that range. I think we did break it by a couple ticks, but m- most importantly, VWAP never left the range last night. Um, and interestingly, the high made this morning was
Right in
right
that range.
at the same right, like within ticks, right? Um, but VWAP never left that range, so it meander. I'll call it meandering. Um, but it sure changed the tune after the first half an hour. So I like to do is once that evening session is done, frame out the first half an hour of the day session because this is where the volume comes. This is now when it look at that. It never, as soon as that almost whatever the algo was, I mean, it was like right off when it turned to be 9 o'clock central. It just the market just got hit.
But
Yeah. I did buy it within there, and I had to stop at 5.5. I got filled at 05. I had a terrible computer broker, but I was happy to be out with a small loss. Um, so what happened also in that half an hour, VWAP left the range early on mine. If we anchor a VWAP to that, on mine, we left that. Yep. Yeah. Yes. Keep it
oh
consistent.
man,
Um,
coach, they could not hear anything I just said.
were you
Uh,
muted?
I was muted to the stream. Yeah, so I'll repeat that one more time. I'm muted in OBS. Sorry about that, guys. So the 30-minute opening range is for Globex. The 3-minute opening range is for the New York session. Right.
Okay. So, and also, as Coach was saying, use it at your time frame. 3 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, 15, half an hour. Um, I use the 30 minute. Um, I just feel more comfortable with it. But most important thing is that this I the globe, when it opens up, Chicago or New York Stock Exchange, it's the biggest volume, and that's the tone.
Yeah.
Um, that's the most important thing. And whatever you make your trading decisions, if you make it in a 5 minute, use that, um, because that time period. Don't look to the 1 minute to get out. That should be determined when you make the trade without going too far away from the. Be consistent on that. And you know what? If you're just starting to use it, look at a few different ones. That I, that helps. But be consistent. So
100%.
most important thing, right after that first half an hour, VWAP left the range, never came back. We stayed under VWAP the whole day. Now, the news about Israel, I think it might have had something to do with it, but it seems like there was an entity or entities that just were unloading stocks. And that, because this was consistent all day long. Um, and we finished towards the lows of the day, back to the 200 moving average on the half an hour. Um, will be interesting, like we talked earlier tonight, if we can hold that. I think tonight I'll frame out the first half an hour bar, attach a VWAP to it, see if it leaves that range, and go with it. Um,
I agree with
kind
you
of
on that one,
keeping it
coach.
simple.
We have a question from Jason Davison, pretty much
How about
on
you,
this. Well,
coach?
uh, I agree with you. You can hear me, right? Check, check, check.
Oh, you're
Can
muted
you guys?
again. Bro.
Oh, you should be able to hear me. You should be able to hear me, coach. Check. What is going on here? You should be able to hear me, right? Yep. Should be good now.
You were gone for a while.
Okay, you should hear me
There,
now.
we're good now.
The question from Jason Davison on this anchored VWAP setup. Jason got short. Sorry, got long under VWAP. Coaches, my mind seems to be inverted. I saw price went lower after the opening VWAP, but kept trying to long. Any tips on how to remind myself it is bearish with the anchored VWAP pointed down? Jason, that's a good point, right? And I had asked you in the chat, maybe clarify why you were looking to buy because there were some opportunities for longs in this market, but having a reason, right, for getting into any trade, right? I think sometimes we as traders think, well, it went down too much, so it should go up, uh, and that could be the case, but it's not enough information to base a trade off of. The way I like to think about this VWAP is exactly what you said. It's pointed down. If the angle of VWAP is lower, that means that sellers are in control and moving that average price down. Now, does that mean that every time it pops up to it, I should be shorting it? Maybe, maybe not, right? It depends on how many times you want to take that exact trade. But if I see an angle of VWAP this way, what it reminds me is that I don't get to decide where the market is going. The market is showing me where it's going. Right, and this angle is showing me that the market is in control. If it's a flat line, then I'm buying below VWAP because it's telling me that the market hasn't chosen a direction and it's a range bound market. But when we have this steep of an angle, uh, this is a clear signal that the market is telling you that it's going in a certain direction. So you can look at it that way and then try to frame your trades around what the market is saying and not what you want, and then go from there.
Yeah, I would add one thing to that. One of the greatest pieces of advice I had from my mentor, Peter Stottlemyre, was take one side of the market. Um, so using that advice today, if and in this scenario, if I want to buy it over volume, VWAP. And if I don't buy it all day, it's a great thing. It's really, I mean, not. Um, so if part of what we do is get caught up on and just trying to make money, the price is cheap. Well, just got cheaper kind of thing. I've suffered from that, and that's when I got the advice. Um, so using volume, in this case VWAP, I don't want think of it this way. After it gets under VWAP, I'm buying the imbalance, right? There's an imbalance that needs to be worked out in this market. This imbalance is to the downside. So um, I I would limit buying if the only buying I would do is to cover a short and start thinking in terms like that. Where I usually get into trouble, what was great advice to me is I would do that. I'd be short cover and try and go long, and then I'm stuck with having to be right. And oh, I literally well, I get shaky when I think about it. So if you're new and this is something you struggle with, this what VWAP really helps is once you see this, like no, set an alert. Set an alert when it closes above VWAP and see if you want to buy it there. That way you're going with the flow a little bit. So it's it for the least amount. But think of it swimming upstream trying to buy this. Um, and it didn't even give you a chance to sell VWAP. That's how heavy this selling was.
So we
So
got under 5,900, the selling just accelerated, right? And that's when we got far away from that, and any pops back up to it were your opportunity. We did range for about an hour, um, but once we got below 5,900, it was a sell.
coach, I want to answer a question while it's up there.
Sure.
I think it's important, and I think it's important for everyone. Um, Arcadia, how do I fix tilting? I find myself sometimes really have really good days and be consistent. But after I lose a few trades, I would size up and keep adding back my positions and blow up the account. Welcome to the club. It's important.
Yeah, it is.
This is a really why I want to bring this up right now. If you're just trading and you want to, because you had a great comment there, and you can be consistent, but I lose a trade and I would size up. So don't size up, number one, especially in a drawdown. It is so tempting. But key part in that or that comment was consistency. So are those trades you're making, are they to recover losses, or are they part of your trading plan? Mhm.
Great question.
And from my experience and hearing that, I don't want to take the fucking loss. So I'll buy another one. Well, I'll average up, and then when it gets to a scratch, I'll get out.
Never get out. You
No,
never get out. Because
and
then when it gets to a scratch, it doesn't go just a scratch, right? It goes like a couple, and probably at that point, a tick is a couple $100. So then you start thinking about, you know, all of your dreams that you could accomplish if this just runs another 100 points. Um, when you should be getting out of the trade. Go ahead, coach.
you know that. Thank you. That's exactly it. I think. Because then what happens is we're trying to fight losses. Another word for that is putting good money after bad. It's not part. So comes back to really accepting losses. By the way, I can say this because I found that the most difficult thing to do.
100%.
Um, it's first of all, it's not natural. We're brought up to be right, and there's shame in being wrong, right? It's so somewhere deep in our subconscious, like I got to be right. I grew up in a Catholic school. I might get the three-sided ruler. But and working with people from all over the world, all different cultures, here at Topstep, which is awesome, and also in my 40 years, the basic education is the same. There's shame in being wrong. You need to be right. And in trading, it's like the complete opposite. Learn how to be wrong quickly. Go ahead, coach.
Was gonna say, if you want to be right all the time in trading, it's and you say it all the time, coach. It's trading right. Taking a stop where you should have said it is being right. Right? Is accepting that, hey, this is a percentage of the time where this is not going to work, and this is the right decision for my account, for my business, for myself. Right? That's what being right is, and acknowledging that risk and accepting it. Yeah, trying to avoid being wrong is a death sentence for most traders. Just to be honest, because you're going to be wrong, and the more you try to avoid it, the the bigger it's going to be to let you know that you need to respect what losses are going to look like eventually.
Yes, and maybe this will help. I'll give one quick story on this. There was a famous trading group on the Chicago Board of Trade floor, and it was a prop group trained by an older trader, and they had a lot of successful traders, and then they were scalpers, pit market makers, scalpers, but their mantra was love your losers. And I had a friend there, and he told me that. Okay, like I didn't accept it at first. I'm like, you're foolish. You love losers? Here, take my losers. Love them. I can't quite love them. You love them. Take all of my losers. But I didn't understand why they had that mantra. Was because it takes the feeling that if you just take a good loss and don't add, you could lose. Like when we preach this, this leads to great risk management, account management. There are days when you're going to be wrong, and as most days, you don't know which trade is going to be the profitable one. But limiting those losses and feeling good starts at accepting the price to get in before you make the trade.
Which, if I can add one thing to that,
Yes.
and Arcadia, how do I fix tilting? Um, if losses are causing you to tilt, then exactly what coach just said, you know, you have to address that, accept it. But until you get to that point of acceptance, because it's not an easy thing to do, right? You're not just going to automatically start accepting them tomorrow. What you probably can realize right now, or whatever your triggers are for tilt, realize those things in real time, whether that be a losing trade, a trade that didn't go your way. That's the time for you right now, if that's causing tilt, to get the F away from your screen and don't make any more decisions until that feeling goes away. All right. So you have to build that muscle of accepting losses, and the quicker you build it, the better you're going to be in your trading journey. But for right now, whatever that feeling is, because you we all know when it happens, right? Your hands start sweating, you start leaning into the computer, you're banging on your desk hoping that something's going to happen. Whenever you're in that mode, you're already on tilt. Realize it in real time. Shut any decision making outside of flattening all positions and getting away. Shut it all down, right? Because that is going to uh, show itself in your P&Os.
Bingo, coach. Yeah. And you know what? This is great. I'm glad we're having this discussion because you see it all over the interwebs, whether it be Twitter or whatever with experts is they want to show you
The
winners. And hey,
interwebs,
I got a winning,
right? Your
mm,
hands start
uh,
sweating.
and understandably, if I told you in the marketing that I'm going to teach you how to lose, right, you'd scan right over it. But this is the truth about trading is like I have to learn how to lose well. I mean, Tom Hugard, Best Loser Wins. It's a great book, and you should have that on your shelf, read it, and understand that because if it's the first time you hear that, you're like, okay, smart ass. um, but it's the days where you don't lose well and you chase losses are the days that destroy us. So, it's a great discussion. Can't have enough of it. I feel because once you limit that and you turn around and go, man, I lost really well today. That means you've made strides.
One other thing I want to comment on, and then we'll go to another market, but I'm seeing a lot of traders say it as well. Jorge just said it. I went long. I went in long when all my confluences told me to go short. And then we had Jason who said, you know, we were under VWAP, but I was buying it. What I will say to that is sometimes when we have a trade setup, it feels so like too good to be true that we just, for whatever reason, do the opposite. Because we, I don't know if it happens to you guys, but it would happen to me as well, where it's just like, oh, that's too good to be true. I can't be right on this, and I go the other way. Just have more confidence in your trade setups, right? And the more you take them with you know, a contract size that's not going to hurt you so much, and then you know, do exactly what we're doing here, where you recap it and see that the trade played out. You'll have the confidence to take it. Again, a muscle that you need to build over time. But understand that if you see something, it's not just because you know you opened your eyes and the chart was saying, "Hey, go short here." You're doing a lot of work to be able to build the eye to see some of these setups. So when you see it, it's okay to take it and it's okay to believe in it, as scary as it might be to say, wait, me? Like that imposter syndrome bullshit, get that out of here. Right. Like we do a lot of work to build uh confidence in this. So when you see a trade, take it. All right. And live with whatever the result is. Just because you see it doesn't mean it's going to be right. But eventually, Jorge, you're gonna get to a point where you say, I see it so often that I just have to take it. Dr. Steenbarger was actually talking about something today about knowing when to size into a position that is, to a high probability going to work based on his playbook. Um, you don't get to that point until you build that confidence. So take the trades that you see. Trust that. I do it all the time. When I take a trade, sometimes I'm thinking about what we're going to talk about in at the buzzer, right? What is this conversation going to sound like when we recap? And that is going to help me stay a little bit confident in my trades. But again, trust what you're seeing, put your money behind it, and manage the risk.
And one last thing, Coach Trader Z, I want Coach Paul to sit beside me and keep whispering in my ear while I add to my losers. Trader Z, don't do it. There, you have an earworm, and go from there.
So take that clip and then just record it and just put it on repeat while you're trading. Don't do it. Don't do it. Switching over to the Nasdaq real quick. We spent a lot of time on the ES, but here's the Nasdaq. Same idea. 3 minute opening range, pretty much the 30-minute opening range as well. A flat angle. We chopped around for a little while. I think the house account did get long at one point in this range, just buying the bottom of the range, which before that sell off, that's exactly what the market presented, right? Flat VWAP. We pushed down towards the 600s, can't sell it. So the first trade in the house account was a long. And then the guys flipped over to the short side, shorting this market, going with the flow under VWAP. Really nice calls by Rips and Dakota, identifying what the market was saying and going with that flow. Uh, Here is, I don't know what this volume anomaly is here, but I'm going to point that out. And then we have, let me go to a 30-minute chart because I also want to look at the moving averages. We know on the ES, we bounced off the 200 moving average. Nasdaq, we sold right through it. Sold right through it, coach. That's a really different story than the ES.
It has been.
Yep.
The ES is, well, let me ask, and I don't watch it. So I guess Tesla was going lower. Is that my
Nvidia was
guess?
down 6%
Nvidia. Oh,
today. Yeah, there was
oh,
and there was another big chip maker, I think, down 10%.
Amly or
Yeah, the
something with
chat
an
chat knows.
AM.
Chat knows.
Let us know, chat. I'm just the futures trader.
Same here. But yeah, tech looking very heavy today, caused this sell off, and we can see it from. Oh, I meant to type that over here. 3 minute chart, really nice sell off. After the sell, though, we had a pretty large consolidation. Um, 20,450 basically at the highs to 20,332 at the lows. We consolidated in this. That consolidation got even tighter, near 400s. And we can see for a couple of hours, we were, bouncing between, in a 50-point range in the NASDAQ, which if you're a range trader, 50-point range to me is a decent enough range to try to take some opportunities where, right, it's not 20 points where, you're looking for 6 point trades. This is a pretty decent range to trade in the NASDAQ, if you don't like trading during this, volatile time.
Um, a good point there. But because I mean, how long did that went on for a couple hours? But it was interesting as because Rips got a piece of that, get the feeling of that early
Yeah, he
of
did.
this break. There was something that he watches there, and he watches the stocks with it and some volume. And he got it. He sold it early. It was a great trade. Um, Why I bring this up is personally, I'm not that good. I'm not that quick. But going back to each individual, trade the time frame you're comfortable with.
Agreed. Anything else on the Nasdaq, coach? We'll look at the daily. Hmm, excuse me.
Coach, we have a question.
Sure.
Can you show us how to anchor VWAP?
Absolutely. So on the drawing tools on the left side over here, we have 5 down. There are forecasting and measurement tools. You're going to click on the right arrow for that, and halfway down that menu, you have anchored VWAP. You're going to click on the star to add it to your favorites because you're going to use this every day. And then what I do is just, wherever the session opens are, I'm going to click on this favorite and I find 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is the Globex session open when trading opens again. And then I'm going to anchor another one to the New York session, which is 9:30 Eastern, and another one at 3 a.m. Eastern, which is London. And Paul, you said you like the 30 minutes. Yeah, so really, if you use the 3 minute or the 30 minute, it's going to pretty much give you the same VWAP. I think what really becomes important is what range you're looking at, right? So let's look at this here. This is a 30-minute range on the NASDAQ, but then if I go down to a 3-minute chart, it might be different, right? The 3-minute chart is going to be somewhat of a smaller range. And it's not that big of a difference, right? The anchor point is going to be the same place. So it's going to give you the same information pretty much. But the 3-minute, 30-minute, if you use an hourly opening range, may give you different information. And I think that's where some of your discretion, like Coach Paul just said, whatever time frame you're comfortable trading, use that and stay consistent with that. Stacks and Networks just said J with a couple dots. Look at the first 5-minute candle of New York session candle range break. Yep, it's going to look very similar to the 3-minute, but yeah, I see what you're saying here. This 5-minute candle here, this break, very clean. 5-minute, 15-minute, 3-minute, 1 minute, 2.5 minutes. Uh, it was a sell.
Hey, one other thing, Coach. Chauncey says you're 5 ticks away from passing the combine. You feel like you're going to goof it up. I have one thing to say to that. Don't look at the 5 ticks. Look at the trades. Trade the trades that got you this close. You have no control whether this trade is the one that gets you over. None. And I th- we've gone to everyone goes through this. I'm glad you brought it up. Just trade the trades you trade. Don't trade to get over. Who was who,
Stanley
well,
the other day, Stanley on Pass with the Pros. We saw what happened with Stanley. He was 66 cents away from 62 cents away from passing, scaled up to a mini because that would push him over the edge, and uh, that brought him down like 400 bucks or something like that. And then you had to recover. It's a terrible feeling, right? Like Coach just said, you're not 6 ticks away, you're not 5 ticks away, you're one good trade away. Uh, Hide your P&Ls, don't over leverage. Just find a good setup and be surprised when you pass. Uh, if you want to take your daily profit target and set it to what's 5 ticks on the ES, uh,
$75?
$75. If you want to take your daily profit target and set it to $100, so it just closes you out of the trade and it's a good trade, you can do that. But just trade the setup that presents itself to you, and you'll pass. You didn't get this far uh, counting each tick.
No. And like I said, no, there is no way of knowing if that trade is going to work, right? Because what we do is we're looking for certainty in an uncertain environment. That's always uncertain. Going into probabilities, right? If you stay consistent and trade the results that got you this close, it might take 4 trades, and that's hard to accept. But what who was it? That got like a dollar within a dollar and blew the account.
That's Dolby's story, that's Stanley's
Dolby,
story.
yes,
It
yeah,
happens. I mean, and they're definitely not the only ones, right? Where it's that monetary focus, coach, right? When you have a goal, and it's a tough thing to do because we know we need to pass that goal to get to the XFAs. But when money is the first thing on your mind in trading, you don't make good trading decisions. You're trying to make money decisions. Uh, and we never want to make decisions that are going to lose us money. So just take the trade.
all right,
Paul Howes, who was on Topstep TV yesterday, coach, giving us a lot of shout outs for these opening range trades with VWAP. So shout out to you, Paul said, don't freak out if the trade doesn't go well, because that can happen as well, right? Where it's just like, oh man, that one lost. Now I'm going to lever up. Don't do it.
yeah, because once again, we have no control which trades work. The only thing we control is first of all have a trading plan, follow the plan.
Let's anything on the Nasdaq? I would be maybe looking for the Nasdaq to retrace some of this selling. The 20 moving average on the 30-minute is now below the 200 moving average, and it looks like it's starting to trend pretty strong. I would not be surprised at a retest of this 200 moving average, um, and see how the market responds from there. Uh, but Cajun asks, we closed above these 2-day ranges. What do you expect going into tomorrow? That is a little bit of an engulfing candle there, coach. Uh,
Yes, it is. It
so
looks
maybe,
worse than the S&P.
yeah, it does. Maybe more downside, but the way I look at it, each day brings a new journey, uh, and have to see what the market is going to say tomorrow. And my job is to get in the flow. If they sell it, I'll try to be a seller as well. Uh, let's move
Yeah,
on to go to gold first, and then we will go to crude oil. Also, remember that tomorrow we have news, jobless claims out tomorrow, so that could change everything, right? So even if I said something today, whatever comes out in that report tomorrow could change things. So I'm just going to pay attention to what the market says. Here is crude oil. First 30-minute open. Sorry, this is not crude oil. This is gold.
yeah.
We are above the 200 moving average on the 30-minute chart. Still trending higher. Take a review up to that, coach, and
Um,
fake
well,
out
they
there.
got a little tough, and then we had a fake out. Yeah. Um, so with that, if you sold it, you have to measure that loss. I use 2 average true ranges. If I can't afford that, then I don't take the trade or I size down. By the way, micros, multiple micros are a great way of sizing that up. Um, so yeah, and boy, gold can be tough. That's um, what time was that low made?
Clarification: jobless claims is on Thursday, not tomorrow. Thank you, Steve. This low was made at 12:30 Central Time.
12:30 Central Time. All right, and did we have a volume event or did we have a J trade down there?
We'll go down to a shorter time frame. Yeah, there was high volume relative to the rest of the volume that was trading at that time. It happened at the lows. This is that exhaustion move. A close above that. Really nice trade.
Yeah, and that boy, that really was big buying. It's That large volume came at was that a what price was that area? What area of price?
26 26.55.
All right, so because looking at that volume down there, someone that was large volume buying the low. Um, Interesting.
And back to see if there's any other higher time frame levels. I mean, it was somewhat of a demand level down here as well. This is going back to October 11th, where we bounced off of. But yeah, really, really strong reaction to those prices.
This is a 3 minute.
This is a 3 minute. Give me 1 second here. Let's see what this is. This is a 3 minute, coach.
Yeah, I mean, even if you sold it on the breakout of the opening range, I think we had VWAP there. Um, Goes back to taking. If you sold, I only want to buy gold. I don't want to get shorted myself because of the trend. But let's say you sold it, you had a good place to sell it up on the breakout. Um, by the way, once it had that breakout, what is? I'll give a simple one. I manage the account. What's the average true range if I take this sell down here? Because this is important. We talk about taking good losses.
True range at this time. Let's go to a 30 minute.
All
And
right.
the average true range on a 30 minute, if I'm down here at these lows, is 3.6. So 7.2. Back inside that range, you're out.
So yeah. So if I did a full gold contract, I have to accept $700 of loss. Or I do a micro, it's 1/10 of that. I could do two micros, is 1/5. And I took a good loss. Remember, well, one of the things I would just want to get through is, yeah, we review stuff, but we also we come into a point is going, if I sold that, where am I wrong? What can I? And then when you get that, why I use average true range, it gives me a number that, all right, I'm willing to do that. Oh, wait a minute, I don't want to lose seven. No, I'm not willing to lose 700. I let the trade go, or I'm willing to lose 700. It's kind of rich for most of our accounts here. Oh, micros. I'm willing to take two micros and take $140 loss. And then this goes into the theme today. Once it gets hit, it's over.
Wrong. What I will say about this trade is price left the range a lot earlier than VWAP did, and this is just a execution point on this trade. I probably, if we look at where price was by the time VWAP left the range, we were pretty far from it, right? Pretty far from this VWAP, uh, where a lot of times we see this as that sell in the hole. So to save you a couple of points, I think I may have shorted on the test of VWAP, and it still would have been wrong, right? But it prevents this short in the hole down here, where we're already so far from VWAP, right? When we see other markets where we get the urgency, where VWAP is leaving at the same time as price, it's a lot easier to take that trade on the initial break. Uh, but by the time this broke, we were already kind of bouncing back the other way. So may save you a couple of ticks on that, and you can go from there. But still would have been a loss, right? So like Coach said, manage your risk.
It sure was a good loss.
Yep.
I might
Oh
want to
yeah.
be as like, okay, I lost a finger, or I still have my arms here. Um, because that buyer down there, that's great information. What time? That was 12:30
12:30 Central.
a.m.
Correct.
Wow,
12:30 a.m. Central Time.
because that was a big buyer relative to that
To that
time.
time frame, yeah, 100%. That was in a 3 minute, that was 1,200 contracts, and the average was 261. So five times the average volume at that time, which is significant.
All right, great. Coach, this is one other thing I wanted. We talk, I don't have to wait for that stop. Once
Correct.
I get that information, think about this. It gets above it. I'm putting my stop one tick above that event.
Because that's a really a buy signal.
Yeah, one tick above, and if I'm just for me, if I sell this, I'm done. Now instead of taking the full, all right, I have new information. It's market generated information. It's volume information because I'm just a guppy in this big ocean, and the shark came and bought it.
We see that range hold once we accepted back inside of it, right? We test down towards the lows. You can see this volume exhaustion. Someone tried to push it lower than these ranges, but it held. So again, marking these ranges out, using them as kind of visual targets helps to uh, frame out trades later in the day, right? Maybe you mark out the 30-minute opening range like in your nighttime prep before you go to sleep and you don't take any trades, but by the time you wake up, now this is, 8 a.m. Eastern, uh, this range that you marked out is presenting opportunities for you to take a trade depending on how the market responds to it. So a really nice opportunity there. And last but not least, crude oil.
Which made most of the range while we were speaking at this time yesterday.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So crude had this pretty big sell-off during at the buzzer yesterday. They just wanted to give us something to talk about during the show. But a really nice continuation of this move, which I'm not surprised at, with being such a heavy move. And then seeing some follow through on that. We had the 30-minute range. We couldn't accept pretty much any of the prices that we had on this sell off, rejecting at the highs of this range and selling as well. Maybe not the easiest trade, because again, volume leaving this range late, right? Price leaves pretty early, volume leaves kind of late, but any of these retracements to volume gave us opportunities to then sell it. If you were looking to sell, your stop could be inside the range, on the other side of the range, depending on what you can afford. Uh, but like Coach said, a lot of the move happened before any of us could really take advantage of it.
Yeah, and let's say you wanted to buy it, and see because it broke $3 in an hour, $2.50. All right, let's say I bought the opening range. All right, it never got going. At one point, think about it, if you bought it because it was cheap and you had some money there, but it stays in that opening candle range.
If you were using the 3 minute, maybe you had a quick scalp long, right? Where this is 25 ticks. But outside of that, and this is part of the reason why I use the 30-minute for that Globex. So shout out to you again for that, coach. A lot of times, 3 minutes is not enough time to get information because it's lower volume. So it was a quick trade, but outside of that,
Yeah, and you had chance to limit.
right?
I didn't. Well, I have a cell in there.
Okay.
It was so far away. I was not. I didn't take the cell, which it was a good cell, relatively. But here, I wasn't comfortable with it. If you're not comfortable with the trade, let it go. Don't force it, because that's the one that I'd rather feel, well, it went without me. Okay, but if you're wrong and you are not comfortable with the risk, that's where, what was we talked earlier, where you can act out of adding, well, okay, I should, you know, I need to get that money back. So
Not yours anymore.
being comfortable with the price it takes to put that trade on. Think of it that way. There's a price. No trades are risk free. Some have higher probabilities, but um, I'm glad I didn't.
We had a
So,
question earlier from Sean C. And Sean, I remember your question in uh, during the daytime session as well. Focusing on level two while the markets aren't moving is kind of hard because you don't really get a lot of the information that you'll see during the daytime session. So what I did, I just put a link in the chat to a live trade example, live volume analysis on the Nasdaq. This is back in February, but it applies. And then just looking at level two data, we identify some orders on the DOM. Then we're reading time and sales to see how these orders get filled, and then framing a trade around that. So check out that link. If you have any questions after you watch that video, let me know. But it's a lot easier to explain it when the markets are moving.
okay, we're coming to a close. I want to and Arcadia comes back. One of the reasons I tilt is because I overtrade. How do you guys fight the urge to not overtrade and sit on your hands? I would stop out and get back in a few minutes later, and I'm just going right back to it. Over the word overtrade. How do I not overtrade? I set my loss to 12% of my account in one day, and it's a lockout. That's how I. It's and other thing is I did not overtrade. It goes back to I'm just trying to trade right, not be right. The biggest cause for overtrading is just trying blindly to be plus on the day. And then once we accept that you don't have to make money, you just have to lose well, overtrading, sitting on your hands, whatever it is, doesn't work. First of all, if you do and you feel that way, you need to turn off the computer.
Yeah, agreed. Hit the lockout button, hit the power button on your computer, and just shut it off. Uh, Whatever you can do.
Yeah, because you're fighting that second self that want that, and you're like that's telling you get that money back. It because that's the dichotomy right there. To me to start that is lock yourself out
The
and
best
don't come
feature
back and
on
go,
any
I should have
trading
fucking bought
platform.
it.
Lockout feature is the best feature in any trading platform there is, right? All the bells and whistles uh, saying, hey, timeout, you've done enough, and making that decision consciously is the best trading platform feature that there is.
Yeah. So thanks for bringing that up because I think that helps. I mean, it's. By the way, it's I'd say it's more than common. It's almost every trader is going to go through this. This is the fix that helps you get over and be consistent and lose right.
Anything on your scouting report going into tomorrow? And correction again, chat correction. Jobless claims is on Thursday, not tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be another quiet news day. We do have some earnings, but jobless claims is on Thursday. Any scouting report stuff you got, Coach, or anything before we go?
What we talked earlier, buying the S&P tonight against that 200
Is that 200?
moving average,
Nice.
framing out the first half an hour, taking the risk there. If if we're above the 200, if not, I think that's the trade I like the most. How about you?
Nice. I'm going to be looking at crude. The energy's providing, some really good opportunities lately. The loss that I took in this account was actually trying to buy nat gas. Got stopped out before the eventual move up. So energies are going to stay on my scouting report. We can trade micro nat gas now as well. So that's what I'll be looking at. It's been a week and a half where these energies are either in the top three to the upside or downside. So I want to try to catch a part of that if I can.
All right.
Right. Let me go through notes, Coach. If you have
Mhm.
anything else you want to say, I don't think we have too much. Remember that Dr. Brett Steenbarger was on Topstep TV today. It'll be split out as its own video, as they always are. But if you want to check that out before we do that, go to the what time was that? Power Players segment. So that was 12 p.m. Eastern time. Really great session. I need to go back and rewatch it. Coach, like I was saying, there was that part where Dr. Steenbarger was talking about, you know, leaning into your A plus setups, which is what I want to start doing. So I'm definitely going to rewatch that segment for sure.
Yeah, he's got a lot of experience, and he's got. I mean, the mental side is, to me, is more important than just the technical side.
100%.
Um, One of the ways I've learned it was there's two yous. There's self one and self two, um, and getting in balance with that is crucial to becoming a consistent and successful trader.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Holly says, "How can I get a coach? I need it." We're here for you, Holly. We're here every day. Whatever questions that you have, ask them here every day. And in the Discord chat as well, if you're in Discord, we don't do one-on-one coaching anymore, but each of our coaches are doing a segment, whether that be here on YouTube with us or Coach Dakota for slow markets. We also have Coach Ray and Coach Vince, which who are amazing coaches, really amazing coaches. And I don't know how many people we have here watching now. I don't have YouTube up, but small sessions for now, kind of like me and Coach Paul started, where we had 80 people at the buzzer. So if you had questions, it was very specific questions. You can ask us directly. Coach Ray, Coach Vince are having, hundreds of people in their classes. But I would suggest going and talking to them because there's a ton of information out there for you as traders to help you. And the more you ask questions, the more help you can get. So definitely check that out. Oh, Coach, did you see the move in Bitcoin today? I saw somebody just mention Bitcoin in the
Oh,
chat.
yeah, that was one of the that was also is also on the radar. But I think needs I want to buy a break in that, but it has great upside potential. Um, we're above the 200 moving average. We're above the 20 on the daily. It's got good potential. I'm actually long a micro on a swing. Looking for a place to add it on the half hour. Boy, see, and then whatever that was, it acts like now it acts like a stock. But yeah, that's a good one. I like Bitcoin on the as a buy. Good call.
We are at time, but there's some good questions still coming in here. So we'll end it. But Holly, how would you trade when driving 14 hours a day? Uh, One, I would trade small because if you are driving for work or whatever it is, you don't want to have to monitor your position on a per tick basis. And if you're trading too much size, then you're going to have to do that. So definitely trade small. Um, I would suggest looking at setting up trades that can work level to level, right? Where I want to get in here, get out here, and then just monitor the position from there, right? In my opinion, whatever you're doing with that 14 hours a day, you're not going to have a lot of time to micromanage trades. So you want to be in a position where you're, just making trade management decisions. Hey, do I want to move a stop in this trade? Likely longer hold times. What would you say to that, coach?
Well, I agree with you 100%. Um, Trade smaller, use micros, frame out. I don't know what time you use when you're on the road. And you can check in. every you don't if your risk management is sound and your process is sound, the way I would approach it is that with that first half an hour, put in my stop or let it run with micros and build the account. Actually, I'll tell you what, it's probably an advantage. Um,
We don't talk about that often enough.
right?
We don't
Um,
talk about that often enough.
how many times we go back? Son of a gun.
Right.
I don't mean gun. Um, what if I had just put it on? So maybe that's an advantage, but pick that, use a half an hour, understand your risk, do a do a anchored VWAP. Actually, I might even try that myself. I have to drive out to Cleveland. I'll be in Cleveland.
Okay.
I might just try that.
Put the
So
trade on and
yeah,
just let it do what it does. Holly, and you gave your times there, 4 a.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. Check out Dakota with slow markets, right? I know you got to sleep as well, but he does have some really good slow markets concepts for exactly what we're talking about, right? Putting a trade on. Some of the trades that we've identified in this with this 30-minute opening range, sometimes the best trade location is going to be during that time, right? And of course, we don't know what's going to happen in the markets. There's 23 hours for the markets to trade, so anything can happen. But put on an idea. Most important, establish your risk and trade well. Trade well. I got nothing else.
great questions today.
Yeah,
I'm glad it
absolutely,
was great interaction. If we didn't get to yours, um, we'll try again tomorrow. And we're here to help.
100%.
And we can be very wrong too in our losing trades. And just to go back to the theme, a good trade does not have to be a monetarily positive trade.
I agree. Trade well, manage your risk. Join the other sessions in Discord, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Central today, and 7:30 for Coach Dakota with Slow Markets. He's going to have Nick for a tick on. They're going to be talking about taking payouts. If anyone is interested in that, we will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Goodbye.